What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Switch Podcast. I am your host, Kejuannh, and today we're going to talk about the big news around the league, the big trade that happened earlier this week that sent Pascal Siakam to the Indiana Pacers. This whole Pascal Siakam trade market situation has been kind of crazy to follow if you've been keeping up with it. So the Raptors made him available back in the offseason. And a lot of teams were inquiring about, okay, maybe we can go get Siakam. But Siakam has been shutting down his own market. He's been telling teams, okay, you can trade for me, fine, but I'm not guaranteeing that I'm going to resign back with you. And to get Pascal Siakam, as we saw in this trade, you gotta trade some assets. You gotta put a lot in that basket. And if you're only gonna have Pascal Siakam, for a half-season rental, a lot of teams were thinking that's not worth it. I know the Kings earlier this week were the front runners in this trade, but the Kings eventually pulled out because they said, okay, if he's not guaranteeing to resign with us, we can't necessarily put all our eggs in this one basket. But he ended up with the Indiana Pacers in the trade, and the details of that trade are that the Pacers received Pascal Siakam and the Raptors are going to receive Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks. Also, in a separate trade, the New Orleans Pelicans traded Kira Lewis to the Pacers, who sent him to the Toronto Raptors. And the Pelicans really didn't receive anything. They really just wanted to get some money, get some cash, free up space off that luxury tax. They have a bunch of contract things going on, and we know they got a bunch of things going on in the future. But what's interesting to me is that 2 of those 3 first-round draft picks are for this upcoming draft, the 2024 NBA draft. And the Raptors have a choice between 4 teams. They have a choice between the Utah Jazz's pick, the Houston Rockets pick, the LA Clippers pick, and the Oklahoma City Thunder pick. So whatever 2 teams finish the worst out of them 4, that pick is going to the Raptors. It's a first-round pick. And the 2026 pick belonged to the Pacers, and we don't know what that's going to look like in 2026. So there's that. But I really just wanted to get on here and talk about how both of these teams look and how they're going to be affected, not just for this season, but for the future. First, we're going to talk about the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers are currently tied for 6th in the East with a 24-17 record. Now, mind you, they played the last 5 games. They're 3-2 in the last 5 games without their star point guard, Tyrese Halliburton. When I initially saw his injury, I thought he was going to be out for a long time, seeing his reaction now. He had to get carried to the back. But it seems like he dodged a bullet. And Coach Rick Carlisle said that they expect him to be back in the coming days. So we may possibly see Tyrese Halliburton's return with Pascal Siakam's debut. We may see that lineup. But when looking at this trade, we're looking at this team. Looking at the team before the trade, we know Tyrese Halliburton. We know what he's done so far this season. We saw him in the in-season tournament, taking the Pacers all the way to the finals of that tournament. He's currently averaging a league-leading 12.5 assists per game. Right now, it's like Tyrese Halliburton is your central. He's your central. He's the identity of this team. As far as Tyrese goes, that's as far as this team going to go. He's going to get a lot of points. He's going to get a lot of assists. He has a very high usage rate. And before this trade, I thought, okay, this is cool. It's fun to see right now, but how is that going to translate in the playoffs? It's different if you got to play a team once every 20 or so games versus when you have a 4 out of 7 series versus them where they're going to be able to strategize. Okay, bet. If this game goes as far as Tyrese takes them, we're going to trap Tyrese off them pick and rolls. We're going to make him get the ball up before he wants to and take him out of the series. How are you going to score if Tyrese is really taken out of the game, taken out of the series? And I think this trade, adding a scorer like Pascal Siakam, a player like Pascal Siakam, does nothing but makes life easier for Tyrese and makes life harder for defenses. You're adding Pascal Siakam, who is a perennial All-Star. He's a former All-NBA selection. He has 2 All-NBA selections. He's currently averaging 22.2 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, and 4.9 assists on 52% shooting. So he's very efficient. He's a very efficient 23 points a game. But I think the big thing that nobody's talking about is how well he fits. How well he fits with his team and their style of play. So the Pacers are 3rd in the league in pace. They're 3rd in the league as far as transition offense, as far as efficiency, as far as field goals made, all that. And they're adding Pascal Siakam, who averages 5.7 points in transition, and he's top 10 in efficiency when it comes to transition scoring. So you're adding a transition player to a team that loves to play fast. That's not going to do nothing but make life lovelier for everybody wearing a Pacers jersey, every coach for the Pacers, every Indiana Pacers fan, you know. But I think the big thing with this trade I think this trade makes the Pacers the fourth best team in the East. I think obviously 1, 2, and 3 are the Celtics, Bucks, and 76ers. And, you know, there's a bunch of teams in the middle that have, like, claim to be, like, okay, we're the next best team. But I think this trade moves the Pacers up. The Pacers, we saw Giannis talk about how losing to the Pacers 4 times this year keeps him up at night. Well, Giannis, they just added Pascal Siakam. So good luck with that. But another team I want to talk about, the other team in this trade I need to talk about is the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors their situation is very interesting to me. You know, I'm excited to see what they do because they've prioritized their future. After missing the playoffs last year and getting bounced in the first round, they're starting out this season very, very bad, very slow. They're 13th in the East with a 16-26 record, and we see them doing a soft rebuild. You know, last season they had a core of Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, and Pascal Siakam. Well, the only person left out of that 4 is Scotty Barnes. Fred VanVleet left the team in free agency this summer to join the Houston Rockets. They traded away OG Anunoby in a trade earlier this year for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, who are both performing ever since they've been to Toronto. And they just traded Pascal Siakam. So I think they just wanted to get younger. They said, okay, fine. You know, right now we're not the best. Let's move out these older guys for some younger guys, for some younger legs, and these draft picks. They have 3 first-round draft picks this year. Now, the Raptors, like I said, they're 13th in the East, so right now they're looking at a lottery pick. But they also have a choice between the Jazz, the Rockets, the Thunder, and the Clippers. 2 of those teams may not make the playoffs. So you potentially have 3 lottery first-round picks. And people want to say what they want about this draft and how it's not that strong, it's kind of weak, but if you can find a guy that's played 2 or 3 years in college, and you add him to your team, he can have an immediate impact. You know, I think of Jalen Williams for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He played 3 seasons in college, got drafted 12th overall, and he's averaging 18 points in his second season. If you can have a guy that's gonna be that good out the gate, that may be fine if you're not one of those teams that are last in the league and you want this player that's gonna change your franchise around. The Raptors already have that. The Raptors have Scotty Barnes and they have RJ Barrett, 2 young wings that if they mesh together, if they find their way, if they continue to improve, they can be perennial all-stars in this league. So that's all I have to say about the Raptors and the Pacers. But I just wanted to give y'all I just wanted to talk to y'all right now. This is my first YouTube video. It's called the Switch Podcast, but I'm not sure if it's going to be like a podcast. I'm going to have like weekly episodes or whatever. Just know if something drops, if something happens, it's the trade deadline. There are going to be a lot of moves going on coming up in a couple weeks. If something big happens, y'all going to see me. Y'all going to see my face. But if nothing happens, of course, I'm going to be on here talking about the games, getting my breakdowns on games, getting my breakdowns on teams and all that. You know what I'm saying? But make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, man. You know, this is just the start of a journey. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get going. I'm really excited. Something I should have been started this. You know what I'm saying? But I'm thankful. I'm grateful that I'm able to start it now. Once again, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Because we finna get going. We're finna get going real good. It's going to be real fun.